Hi, everybody. I'm about a minute late, but if you were in the office today, it was a little crazy. So I just got home. So excited to be on here. You're on the MaxMoms call. I'll wait a couple minutes for people to get on and just make sure that I am all together. Pretty sure I got all of my things. My favorite books, all my papers. Okay. Let me share my screen with you guys. Should be good. Just getting everything together. Hi, if you're watching. I see one person watching. I don't know who it is, but if you want to say hi, you can. I can see everything this time. So good. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So today we are talking MaxMoms. And, as I was driving here from the office just now, I was like, I don't know, I felt like this heaviness of this workshop and something that I've never really felt before. And I was like, God, where is this coming from? And I don't think it's because I'm not a mom. So to be transparent, if you're watching and you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Cassie. I am not a mom, but I'm going to talk about pregnancy and I'm going to talk about birth options. I'm going to talk all things about that. And I was like, that's not what it is. But as I was preparing for this, there's, especially right now, speaking truth and encouragement to people when it comes to pregnancy can be a very sensitive subject. It can be a very heavy subject. And I think that's what I was feeling on my way here. Just this almost like I have a very heavy thing to carry. That's what I felt like of what it is for pregnancy, what it is for delivery, what people's stories are, what people's stories they've heard, and what that can be. It's heavy. And so I was like, God, I'm just going to give this to you and pray that the words that I speak to you guys today would be that of only encouragement. Because when I think about moms and the moms that I've just had the blessing of taking care of, really, you just need encouragement. And you need a relationship and you need a community of people that are around you supporting you. And so whether you're watching and you are currently pregnant or you've had babies before, or you're like me and you are so looking forward to the day where you get to see a pregnant sign and that you can actually hold a baby for the entire full term, whether you're a nanny, whether you're a husband or a father, watching this, know that I'm here to encourage you. I'm not here to judge you on maybe past experiences that you've had or past decisions that you've made. That is not what this webinar is about. It's to give you the best information that I know when it comes to pregnancy and making sure that you have a healthy pregnancy, nutrition-wise, chiropractic, exercise-wise, and then what it looks like postpartum. I think that's something that is very neglected in the OB world, and the care for our mamas is what happens afterwards. So we are going to go through all of that. We're going to dive in a little bit about me. I have things behind my name. I'm a chiropractor. I am certified in Webster technique, which is a chiropractic technique mainly for pregnant moms, but it can be used on others. I have a bachelor's degree in biology. I have an associate's in science. I'm level 2 certified in spinal correction. I'm nutrition certified. But I think what sets me apart from most is my desire to continue to learn and go above and beyond. My heart is so big. My passion is so big for seeing people be healthy and be well, that it doesn't matter all the degrees behind my name. I think it's the person that will take care of you that makes all the difference in the world. I don't want another degree if it takes away from my passion or my heart for what it is that I get to do. So know that this next hour that we go through everything, like there's heart and there's passion behind it, but I also have a lot of the credibility when it comes to being able to talk about this on top of it. But it's not just me. So I have an incredible team. April is there on the left with the red hair. That's me. My husband is Dr. Michael in the middle. And then the wonderful Nikki right there on the right-hand side with the blonde hair. An amazing team that is behind our patients, behind our community here in Nashville. But our mission is to really teach families how to get well and to stay well. So one of our slogans is like, get well and stay well. So not only doing what it takes to get to the point of where you feel like you're healthy and well, but staying there for your entire life. And every single person on here has a big heart, but there's only one of them that has birthed a baby, that has been pregnant, and that is April. She is the mother of 6 children, beautiful kids. And I'm so thankful to learn from her. We joke all the time that when I do have a baby, like she'll be the one in the office, like holding it and doing all of that, taking care of it, guiding me through. She has had multiple home births. She knows a lot when it comes to natural parenting, if you will. So going above and beyond, know that you have all of us as a resource to guide you through this time of your life, whether it's now, whether it's in the future, or whether it was in the past, to share some of your stories with. Know that we are a team here ready to help you. So let's get into it. I think that when you think about pregnancy, and we're going to go through all of the versions, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and the one I really love talking about, which is the 4th trimester. But when you really think about a baby, like it literally is the miracle of life. Like there is nothing like the life of a baby when you hold a baby, when you see a baby, and you're just like in awe of what God has done. Like if I've adjusted your child and you've trusted me to take care of your babies and to go to the hospital or to go to your home and allow me to hold your baby and look at it, there's a couple things that I usually say. And one of them is like, I don't know how people don't believe in God. Like, I just don't understand. Like, when you look at a baby, it's just such a miracle of what has happened over 9 months to create this baby. And the other thing that I usually say is like, oh my gosh, like she has ears and eyeballs and fingernails and like there's literally nothing missing. And this is baby Abigail that I'm holding. She's 2 now, which is so crazy to me. But this was I think she was like a week old when I went to her mom and dad's house and adjusted her and checked her. A full head of hair beyond anything that I had ever seen before. Mama had heartburn so bad. That's one of like wives' tales / kind of true. If your baby has a lot of hair, you might have heartburn out the wazoo. But just know, I want you to be encouraged, like when you see a baby, remembering the miracle of what life is, what happens over these 9 months of creating this incredible, beautiful human being, so tiny that it has everything that it needs, that God didn't make a mistake with you or your children. He made us with everything that we need inside of us, and we are going to just honor that throughout this entire thing. So let's really get into the trimesters of what pregnancy is. So some of you on here, you're in a certain trimester, first, second, or third trimester. A lot of people start talking about weeks, really not like the trimester that they're in. So the first trimester is like the first 12 weeks, and then we get into the second trimester from there. But a full-term pregnancy, quote unquote, is 40 weeks long, aka 9 months. I still am just like how a baby can be made, and in a woman's body in 40 weeks, it's done. And there's a child at the very end of it. I'm still just like, this is absolutely crazy how our bodies know how to be able to do that. And just 40 weeks blows my mind every single time. And so the first trimester, let's get into that. So that's week 1 to week 12. And so the biggest thing with pregnancy and trimesters is how they determine your trimester. So the way that they say, like, and we're going to go through due dates of what that is that, but week 1 of your trimester is actually calculated on the day of your last menstrual cycle. So in essence, like, you could have already been pregnant, but that's not how they count it. But what usually happens during this time is that there's a lot of changes happening, like the cells of a baby. I'm going to show you a picture next of like what happens in the first trimester and what the baby looks like. But cells are rapidly developing. Some people, like, it's really like a parasite. And they compare that to is like all of a sudden you have this thing that is literally sucking everything out of you, but it needs it for its nutrition and to be able to grow and to be able to develop. So this is where you might see things like you are just tired. You're fatigued because your body it's taking everything that it can to start to grow and develop a baby. This is also a moment where you might get morning sickness. And with that, like, some of the things that you can do with morning sickness, sometimes you just have to write it out. Sometimes you have to find out what helps. A couple different things are like ginger, which can help like soften the stomach, like being able to, I'm trying to think of the word, settle. That's what the word. I'm like, it starts with an S. Settle your stomach down. Peppermint can also do the same thing. It also helps to do like smaller meals, not like a big meal. Have healthy snacks on hand. That can help. But sometimes I know some mamas, they ate bread their first trimester because that was the only thing that they could keep down. Like, their bodies, you can find some loved bean and cheese burritos. And I'm going to talk about nutrition, and that is nothing that I'm going to say is okay with it. But for this first trimester, sometimes you just got to do whatever you can do to help your belly settle down. You might also experience cravings. Cravings can sometimes tell you things like chocolate might be a deficiency in zinc or magnesium. So sometimes cravings can tell you, but cravings are very common during the first trimester. You also might start to go to the bathroom a little bit more. So more like frequent urination is what I mean, because like right down in the area where your uterus is, so is your bladder, and it's starting to press on different things, not drastically as much as in the third trimester, but your body might start to develop that. You also might start to gain weight. It's part of what happens when your body is carrying a baby. So this is what starts to happen on the inside of you on the first trimester, is that the baby starts to grow and develop. And I love this picture because it really depicts what's really happening on the inside. They actually did, the reason that this is a picture and exists is they were talking about abortion. They were doing a study to see if the babies this big in first trimester experience pain. And they found, because they looked and you can see the nervous system. So what you see on the right-hand side, like all of that green, like that is the baby's nervous system. So the very first thing to develop inside of babies is their brain, their spinal cord, and the nerves from a very, very early time in pregnancy. And then from there, like at the end of the trimester, most vital organs are developed during that time. The heart beats at about 5 weeks. You can start to hear it then. And so knowing that your baby is already developing a brain, a spinal cord, its nerves, like you can even see like the intricacies of like their like vertebrae starting to develop, their spinal cord is there, everything is starting to become a human. So it's so incredible and crazy all at the same time, and so beautiful. And I just love learning about what happens in a baby. And I think for me, in chiropractic, so I'm going to talk about chiropractic and pregnancy for just a second, but when I was in chiropractic school, we learn about the development of a baby. Like we learn about every system in the body, not just the nervous system, but we learn about the heart, we learn about the lungs, we learn about respiratory, immune system, all of it. And I remember sitting in our chiropractic and babies class, and we started from the beginning, and I was just in awe of like how this is absolutely incredible what happens in the body. And that's when I really fell in love with taking care of mamas and babies. I really love all of you that are patients, but pregnancy and babies are my absolute passion, to be able to care for moms and to love on them, and to then to care for babies and children, to see them grow up and develop healthy and well kids, and that would have less issues and problems, and that pregnancies would be smoother, and that there would be less pain and there'd be less complications and all of that, that I could be a part of that. And I've always connected more with kids and mamas than I ever have in my whole life. Growing up, I was like, I love talking to kids and pregnant moms. Like every time I see one, I just go back to like this picture of like what's happening inside of their bodies. And there's just a love that I can't help but express for that. So let's talk about chiropractic and pregnancy. And so number one is, if you are a patient and you're not pregnant yet, and then you're getting adjusted and then you become pregnant, this is the best time to continue chiropractic. There is no question about it. But if you are pregnant currently, first trimester is a very great time to start getting chiropractic adjustments. And there's for a multiple different reasons. Number one, usually low back pain is what brings pregnant moms or really anybody into our office. I think it's sometimes underutilized what chiropractic can do for a pregnant mom with low back pain. But during pregnancy, the curvature in your lower back can be strained because there's extra weight and extra pressure that's being put on your lower back, or what we call your lumbar spine. And that's not only just like biomechanically, like not good for your pelvis and the baby's positioning when they're fitting inside of there. I've never gone through labor, but I know that it is hard. And so we don't need to make it harder on us as pregnant, I'm not pregnant, but as women. Like, we don't have to make it harder on ourselves, but we want to make sure that your pelvis and your lower back are in alignment, just so that way the baby has enough room to be able to be delivered and to be able to be sitting inside of this small area, that it has enough room to move around. The other part of it is, if you look on the right-hand side, the neuroanatomy. So in the lower part, like this is the lower part of your back, and that bottom part right there is your uterus. You don't need to know everything that's inside of there, but you can see the intricacies of what your nervous system does. You have 3 different types of muscle fibers. They're like circular muscle fibers, longitudinal muscle fibers, and then fibers that will help continue to contract your uterus to get the baby out. Every single one of those muscles is innervated by your nervous system. So if there is any pressure or compression or interference not allowing this system to work properly, from improper spinal alignment or hip alignment, then it's going to keep your body from working and functioning at 100%. So we want to make sure as chiropractors that your pelvis is in the correct position, that your lumbar spine is in the correct position, so that everything works properly in conjunction. The muscles would contract, that your bones would be able to move in the right position, that your pelvis would be able to expand when you're going and getting ready to give birth. But chiropractic can ensure that all of this is working properly. Now, we of course cannot take an x-ray on a pregnant mama, and we would never do that, but we can do posture analysis, we can do range of motion, we can do scales, bilateral weight scales, to see how your body's balanced, to know what's happening on the inside without taking an x-ray. And at the end of this, I will give you an opportunity for those of you that haven't been checked to know how to be able to be assessed, to make sure that your low back and your pelvis are in the correct position as you continue on throughout your pregnancy. So first trimester is also when you are going to have a conversation about ultrasounds. Now, for some of you, you may not know that this is a controversial topic in the natural pregnancy world versus the Western medicine type of a pregnancy journey. So I want to tell you like where it came from first and foremost. And then the biggest thing here is that you're going to ask questions. And for some of you, you need to research this a little bit more. For some of you, you've never even heard of this before. So a few years after, there was like this really large study, and it determined that you should not x-ray a baby in utero, that it actually increased the cancer risk among the children that were x-rayed during that time. So in the 1970s, ultrasound started to become super popular because of this study. And so this OB, he borrowed an industrial ultrasound. And this ultrasound machine was used for detecting any flaws inside of metal. And so he decided, you know what, I'm going to use it on a pregnant mom and see what happens. So the beginning part, like, there were no scientific evaluations, there was no scientific research, there was no testing on whether or not that this could be potentially hazardous. And so currently, like, there are no federal or state regulations required to periodically calibrate an ultrasound from an OB, like an OB ultrasound. There is no written consent usually for a pregnant mom. Sometimes there might be, but not always. There's no indications for the procedure of like what could happen to the baby, the type of equipment used. Like, there's no amount of like exposure. Like, they don't know like how much exposure will actually affect a baby from ultrasound. And so the bottom line is, like, we really don't have any idea of the long-term effects of what can happen to a baby that's being exposed to ultrasound. So here's what I want you to do. In my opinion, if I don't need an ultrasound, I am not going to get an ultrasound. That is me personally. But here's some questions that I want you to ask. Like, if you read into it more, or that was kind of like, oh geez, I didn't know that I was even supposed to ask. But like, if you prefer not to have ultrasounds, a couple things, like some people only prefer to do one. And that was usually like a midwife, or sometimes it's like, why are you doing the ultrasound? It really needs to only be done if ask the question, like, what information are you wanting to get from an ultrasound? Like, if they're seeing something in other testing that they need to look further in, then it's like, absolutely, 100%. If it's just to look at the gender of the baby, I would ask you to maybe question using an ultrasound for that. There are blood tests that you can do as well to see the gender of the baby. But if it's an effort to confirm your due date, which is possible, you can do that from other information, like your last period, how you're measuring, even temperature charts can help to see when your due date is going to be. Sometimes they use it for pelvic dimensions. I honestly, like, we take x-rays, so like I see pelvis every day, like pelvis x-rays every single day when I do this. I really think that an ultrasound is a poor use of the equipment to measure. The sun is coming down. Can you see it all over my face? It's a poor representation of your pelvic dimensions. It's mainly to see if your pelvis is big enough to birth a baby. I think that because your pelvis it's separate bones. There's your hip bones on the side, like when you put your hands on your hips, there's your sacrum, and then there's your coccyx. And all of those are put together by your ligaments and tendons, and they're designed to spread out as you continue further on in your pregnancy. And then if you're in different positions, the pelvis will be able to close, like that center, it'll be narrower, and then you go in another position. So I really don't think that it's the best representation of what you can do if that's the case. Now, if someone's like, we need to just check, we're concerned, absolutely 100%. But just think about that. Or the fact that we need to do all these ultrasounds throughout your entire pregnancy, just because there's no real studies being done on what's happening, I don't know how safe it absolutely is. So it's something that we need to consider as we go through pregnancy. So then let's get into second trimester. So these are the weeks of 13 through 27. And this is a fun time usually during pregnancy, where usually the fatigue goes away. You feel like you have a little bit more energy. It's when you really start to show. And I know the transition that mamas are in, because usually sometimes we're the first people to know that our mamas are pregnant before anybody else, sometimes even before the husband, which it gets kind of funny with when that happens. But this is the point where you really start to show, and like you don't feel like you're just getting fatter and like everyone's wondering if you're fat, but like you really get to start to see the baby grow and your belly come out. Like you're gonna probably gain about 3 to 5 pounds per month. You're also probably going to start eating a little bit more, like your appetite's going to be back. Your uterus starts to expand. And then this is the beautiful time where you get to start to feel the baby kick, and you feel like the flutters inside of there. This is when it gets really a better part of the pregnancy, especially if you've had kind of a rough beginning and start with perhaps morning sickness or food cravings. So then we get into third trimester. So this goes from week 28 all the way until the end when you have the baby. And the third trimester is that final trimester. This is when you get a little more anxious because you're ready to meet your little baby. You're ready for it to be over because you're getting bigger and bigger. You might waddle a little bit more. You might pee a lot more. This is a time where you also might start to experience a little bit of heartburn. Chiropractic helps with a lot of that. Eating the correct way helps a lot of that, but sometimes it can get a little bit more intense during the third trimester. We also had a patient, and this was the time she's like literally like this big, like so tiny, but in her third trimester, her ankles swelled up so big, her arms were swollen, and she was just like, I am done with this. But know that that's part of it. It can happen during these times. The baby starts to move a lot more because he or she's trying to find their position before they're ready to come out. And then also you might even be a little bit more tired as well. So that first trimester fatigue, but it's more of like, you're just ready and done and you're just tired and you're getting bigger. So you want the baby to be out in here in the world. So let's talk about what that means though. Like when the baby does come into the world, what actually is a due date? And so research has now shown that only 5% of women actually give birth on their due date. So not a whole lot of women are giving birth on their due date of when they say. So really, as long as your baby is like 37 to 42 weeks, like in there, it can fluctuate pretty significantly of when your due date is because of how they say your last menstrual cycle, then they count 280 days or 40 weeks afterwards on that. So it's completely normal and expected to go past your due date. Like I think, and I've always said this to my moms and tried to encourage them on this point, is that the baby knows and God knows when it's time. And like there's a like cliche statement of like, if they were done, like they got to keep them in there. They got to cook long enough. They got to cook a little bit longer inside of there. There's more things that need to be done. It's really bright. There we go. There's more things that need to be done in your baby in order for them to come on out. They're just not ready to come out. And then a side note on ultrasounds, I heard this and I'm going to pass it on to you that if God really wanted you to know what was inside happening with your baby, he probably would have put a window in it so that you could see. So going in with medical equipment to see what was going on, I don't know how much that right there is a natural part of the process that we were designed to go through. So then, I'm trying not to be in the sun, you guys. Let's see, I'm gonna just keep moving around. There we go. We'll just keep going around the room. So then let's now get into what can you eat during these time? What are the best nutrients that you need to be eating? I have been around pregnant moms and I've been around like pregnancy, and there's one thing that people always say and they're like, well, I'm eating for two. So then you're like eating a whole lot and it doesn't matter because you're eating for two people. So we just keep putting food in. And I want to encourage you to not think that way, to really think about nourishing the baby on the inside, not just eating and getting a bunch of calories and just getting a bunch of food in because you are eating for another human. And when it comes to OBs and like taking care of this, if like you ask your OB like what nutrition you should do, like a lot of them have no clue and they have no idea, 0%. And this is where having somebody on your team, nutrition wise, like a chiropractor or like a functional medicine doctor or like a natural nurse practitioner to help guide you through these steps is going to be something that will be so good for your birth team. But you are feeding the baby directly through your umbilical cord. And so the food that you do eat, I want to encourage you that it does matter. It matters what you put in your body. That first trimester, it might be a bumpy road and it might look a lot like whatever you can get down. But the instant that you really start to feel like you can eat more and put more things in your body, I want to encourage you to be able to do that. The nutrients that we need are things like iron and folate, iodine, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C, calcium, and fiber. And especially getting into that third trimester, like you're going to need extra calories to support your baby as it continues to grow. So I want to go through what those are. So when you think about nutrition and pregnancy, I want you to think about the word nourishing, like nourishing nutrition for your baby as your baby continues to grow. And gardening is a very good metaphor and a very good, like, what is really happening on the inside. Like those of you that are growing gardens right now, Dr. Michael planted a whole bunch of herbs and tomatoes and hot peppers, cilantro. We got a lot of good things in our garden, but we know that the soil has to be good. What we put inside of there, it has to have every nutrient that it needs in order for it to grow. And so your baby is no different. And the same thing goes with breastfeeding. We're going to talk about that here once we get into the fourth trimester, but the baby is going to take everything that it needs. And so for some of you, it's going to go into tissues and take stuff, and you're going to feel so sucked dry because there's nothing left for you to even give out of it, because not only has the baby taken the food that you ate, but it's taking other things that it needs. And so this is why I want to encourage you to get it as much as you can through your food. I am going to talk about vitamins on the next slide, but these are all the good things that you want to be able to do. So like having those healthy fats like avocados, so that it helps the nervous system and the nutrients that your baby and that you need in order to keep your body functioning. And it also helps to create energy in your life, is having those avocados, coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, pasture-raised eggs. There's so many nutrients that are so healthy for you inside of there. Choline is one of them. So choline is found in eggs. And what choline does is it plays a role in gene expression. So the genes that you're passing on to your baby helps them be expressed better when there's choline attached to it. It also helps their cell membranes signal to where they need to go. So their nervous system is developing at the very beginning. And if they can have all of their membranes signaling, their genes getting expressed like they're supposed to, the baby is healthier and that you are healthier on top of it. And then you can also see inside of there, we got fermented foods to help your digestive system, wild sockeye salmon, nuts and seeds, bone broth, leafy greens, and tons of veggies. If you can get yellow and orange vegetables into your diet on a consistent basis, like carrots, sweet potatoes, bell peppers, they are high in vitamins that you need, especially vitamin A, vitamin C, that you can get during pregnancy. Like make sure that you can eat those as much as possible. When it comes to protein, make sure that you're getting enough protein. On average, it's about 50 to 70 grams of protein a day. So that way it's the building blocks. They contain amino acids for your muscles, your baby's muscles to be able to grow, develop, and stay strong. I also on here, I didn't put, but I want you to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. It seems like a no-brainer that you would do that, but sometimes moms don't. And I also want you to watch out for, like, if you're not drinking water, if you're drinking something else. So there's a couple things that I want to talk to you about, like avoiding. And I'm not talking about like shellfish, meat, and all that stuff that they tell pregnant moms to avoid, sushi, all of those things. I'm just talking about your everyday foods. And one of them is like the things that you do drink. Like if you are addicted to carbonated or sweet drinks, like this is a time to stop cold turkey and drink water instead. Like that can like steal nutrients from your baby. And so you want to make sure that you're drinking as much water as possible also during breastfeeding. So this is a time where, and sometimes caffeinated like coffee is not a great thing during pregnancy. Sometimes it's even hard for conception. So caffeine can also inhibit nourishing vitamins, but things like tea are really healthy, and water. Another thing is avoiding anything that is not food. I don't really love to say like a lot of don'ts. I'm much more of like do this and do this and do this and do this. But there are a couple things. So avoiding any carbonated or sweet drinks, and also avoiding anything that's not real food. So anything that is chemicals, additives, food colorings, highly processed like boxed foods, like you really want to try and stay away from those as much as possible. I'm thankful that the world now has created way healthier processed foods. So, sometimes that's a totally fine thing, especially when you're pregnant, but really read your labels. So making sure that you're reading the labels on everything that you buy and that it's a nourishing food for your body and your baby's body. So then let's talk about, so can you not get nutrition from all the food that you eat? When it comes to pregnancy, the answer is yes, it's tough because you have a baby that's literally stealing everything from you that you're eating and sucking things out. Like you want to make sure that you get everything that you have inside of it. So I absolutely recommend a prenatal. The biggest thing with prenatal vitamins is that you want to have methylated B vitamins inside of it. It helps your body absorb, making sure that you have vitamin D, making sure that you have good healthy fats with your prenatal, vitamin K, folate. We all know those things. So we at MaxMoms, and I'm super thankful for this, is that we have the prenatal daily packets, and I'm finishing my women's health one, which I'll talk about at the very end. But this morning, I got my daily essentials vitamin. I'm going to start taking the prenatals afterwards just to get my body ready for when we are going to have a baby. But I was in a hurry this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, my vitamins. And normally I would have to take every single pill bottle. And April and I laughed this morning because it was like she had to grab her omegas and she had to grab her vitamin D. She had to put it in a little baggie and then she was out the door. And I was like, I grabbed mine out of my pocket and I was like, well, here are mine. And I was like in such a hurry and I grabbed in the box and I took it, put it in my pocket. And once I got to work and then I took everything. So this prenatal vitamin has everything that you need inside of it. Inside of it, there's the actual prenatal vitamin itself, but there's also an omega complete in here. So it gives you the good healthy fats that you need inside of it. And then it also contains osteo support. So it gives you calcium, it gives you vitamin D, it gives you everything so that you have healthy bones and everything that really a woman needs to keep their body healthy and well and absorbing the nutrients like they should. Since this is one of our featured products on the webinar, it is 15% off. There are 60 packets in there. They do recommend that you take 2 a day. If you aren't able to take 2 a day and you need this to last a little bit longer, like it comes out to about like $2.50 a day per packet to take your prenatal vitamins. If you make them last a little bit longer by changing your nutrition and making sure that you get your nutrients in, it can last a little bit longer. But I highly, highly recommend making sure that you get a high quality prenatal, not just one that you buy off of the shelf in the store. Like you need to make sure that it has the proper methylated B vitamins inside of it, that it has plenty of vitamin D, and that if not on top of that, then you also need to take an omega and make sure that you have enough healthy fats in there as well. Okay, so then let's talk about how do you exercise during pregnancy. So just as much as nutrition is a big part of pregnancy, so is exercise, so is movement. For those of you that have already had an exercise regimen, The research shows like that it is completely fine to continue that type of a exercise regimen as long as you are using common sense and that you are modifying as you need to. Now, I'm going to give you a couple different things, but I want to show you my favorite resource. It's called Exercising Through Pregnancy. It's by James Clapp. He is an MD, and Catherine Cram. I love this book right here because it also talks about conception. So how you can exercise to support your body before you get pregnant, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, exercising, as well as postpartum and how you can get back onto it. So a lot of the information I'm going to teach you is coming from that book. So if you want another resource, it's called Exercising Through Your Pregnancy, so that you can stay supported. So in most cases, like everything that you do exercise-wise is okay. Now, when it comes to what are the best workouts and exercises that you can do, like which kinds are safe, the best ones that they have seen is that any type of like stair climbing, whether you're walking stairs, climbing stairs, doing a stair master, that has been shown to help the pelvis and like your body get ready for pregnancy. And then also squatting. So you can see why. Squatting would be a super important thing to do during pregnancy, but like daily squatting. And in this book, it's crazy. Like she talks about how, but the first thing is if you've never exercised before, it's not a good time to go join a CrossFit gym. It's not a good time to go join a gym to start that process. Like it's starting slow. So like if you've never worked out before, start with 10 squats a day and then start to go more and more and more as you go through. And then it says in here, it says 300 a day would not be too many of squats. Excuse me. So I was like, all right, like your body was made to move. And if you think about it, birth itself is one of the, like the Mount Everest of physical function of any mammal, not even just us, like as humans, like any mammal. Like this is an absolute like physical thing that is about to go down. So you want to make sure that your body is ready for it. Excuse me while I get a drink. I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. Now, those of you that are competitive athletes, we need to just have a conversation about this. So those of you that run a lot, you do Ironmans, you do CrossFit, you do those types of workouts, the biggest thing that just needs to happen comes within here first. It's your mindset. So your original goal, exercising, maybe even not for just competitive athletes, but what is your goal? Your goal might have been like to lose weight. It might have been to train for something, but your goal has to change when you become pregnant. You have to answer that for yourself of what your goal should be. But for example, like your goal isn't to lose weight while you're having a baby and growing a baby on the inside. It might be that you are physically able to handle birth. That it might be to keep your extra weight gain down, that it wouldn't be a free for all as you become more pregnant, so that your body would be able to move. Like maybe it's just being able to continue to exercise and move throughout your pregnancy to keep your joints limber. For some of you, it might be just a little bit of a stress relief, but it might look different. It might be the place where you go to clear your head. And instead of doing a CrossFit workout, it might look like walking. And then to be able to be okay with that in your mind and your heart and to connect that back together so that everything is supported as you go through. Now, this might seem like common sense, but I just want to make sure that we say this, is that be sure that you are safe during exercise. Like, talk to someone. Like if you need to talk to me, talk to someone who's qualified. Like if your trainer that you have at the gym doesn't know anything about pregnancy and exercising, ask for a referral. If you go to a CrossFit gym and you don't see anyone pregnant there, or if they have no idea what that looks like, ask if there's somebody that can help you with that to guide you through these moments. But as you become more pregnant, especially, like, you got to make sure that you're staying hydrated as you're working out. You also have to make sure that you're not getting overheated. So hot yoga is probably not a good idea, but something like prenatal yoga is very supportive, and they know what they're doing. That is just their game. They know how to do it. They know how to support you. Pay attention, like, to your body. Yes, there's soreness, and yes, there's that, but, like, if you are having pain, like, if you are having bleeding, like, if you are having problems and something doesn't feel right, um, make sure that you get help and talk to somebody through that, and just really use common sense. If you're like, I don't know if I should be doing that, you probably shouldn't. So just thinking along those lines as you go through. So those are the contraindications. So any injury, illness, like if you're sick, don't do a high strenuous workout because your body's already growing a baby. Take a break from it for that moment. Vaginal bleeding, any pain. Some of those are absolute, some of them are relative, but just please be safe when it comes to what that looks like in pregnancy during that time. So then now it's time to talk about the birth options that you have. For some of you, these are normal. For some of you, you've never heard of them before. For some of you, you don't know what to choose. You didn't even know that there was an option. So I want to take you through what each of these will be. It's a great idea to really start thinking, if you're not pregnant, what options that you want to do. That's why I've literally read so many books on pregnancy that I know what my option is and my plan is going to be to start off with. So then that way we know where to go and we're studying it and seeing. So the traditional hospital, like OBGYN, it's the most common choice, like in America, to have a baby in a hospital traditionally with an OB. What's crazy though is, like, in other countries, like the Netherlands and Japan, like they're similar to America. So not like Haiti and like third world countries, but most women don't ever expect to be given like anesthesia or epidurals or anything like that when they go to the hospital, as opposed to like in Western medicine, like that is what is expected when you do a traditional birth. But they don't expect to be given any of those things because they see the birth process as a normal physiological process that women go through. It's just part of what we do. And I hope that that would encourage you anyways. It's like, this is a normal part of what we are supposed to do as women, is to birth babies. Like, that is not just what we were created for. I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur. Like, there's way more than just birthing babies and doing all of that. But like, we were created to do that. And I think we've lost that to be like, I can do this. Like, I'm supposed to do this. I am designed to do this. But if you did it with an epidural, if you did it with medication, there is no judgment here. It's just educating you on the different types of things. So if you do choose, however, like a traditional hospital birth, like, know that a natural pain, like no pain medication, no epidural, no C-section, no interference is very hard to come by. Like, the access, and the reason is because when you go into the traditional world, the access to medical intervention is right there. It's actually encouraged a lot of times. Like, if you are stuck and the baby doesn't move, like, it's Pitocin. Like, there's no other real options. Usually it's like medications, drugs, if you're having pain, epidural, like, it's just right at their fingertips. So it's very easy to intervene medically when you're doing a traditional OB birth. Now, some people, like, you feel safer in that environment. Some would argue that's not the safest place to give a baby, but I have known two people, and I know that a lot of this actually comes from a fear behind what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs that happen of why you wouldn't choose something else as opposed to staying with the traditional hospital birth. Two stories of like moms dying at birth. And so there's a fear of it, and that's I get it. Like, there's a rational fear of what that could possibly be. And it's okay. but continuing to research and know and believing that your body, and we want to encourage you more than ever to know that your body is designed and made for this, and to have the best support team here to encourage you is what we're here for. So no matter what decision you decide to do, know that we're here for you. But I want to encourage you, those of you that will do or have done or are doing traditional births, is to ask the right questions. And so here are some of the questions that I want you to ask your OB as you go in, to help you feel more comfortable and to know what you're getting into. Because I mean, actually, I do know one of our friends. She did an elected C-section so that she could have her baby birthed by that doctor on that day. I know that exists, but most people don't want a C-section, or they might be scared of a vaginal birth. They might do a C-section, but those of you that want a more like a vaginal birth and a natural birth, you have to ask questions. So know what your OB's C-section rate is. So you just ask them, what is your C-section rate? And if it's anything above 30%, like absolutely not. Like if it's 1 out of 2 people are getting C-sections, that means 1 out of 3, like whatever you're comfortable with, just know, like if you're comfortable with the number that they say or you're not. What do you think about due dates? Like how long will you let me go past my due date, considering that it could be off? Like it could be drastically different from what you expected. And how long will you let me go before you induce me, before you scrape my membranes, before you do all this stuff, before you give me Pitocin? Like how long before you intervene can I go? Also, like, will you be hooked? Like when you get into the hospital, like, will you be able to be like, will you have to be hooked to a fetal monitor the entire time, or will you be able to get up and move around? That's a big deal because that matters. The baby being able to get in position, you being able to get your pelvis in the right position so baby can move down the canal. But if you're hooked to a fetal monitor, you don't get to move, and it's going to be tougher for you to be able to give birth if you can't move the entire time. What's their thoughts on ultrasounds? Like how many ultrasounds are you going to get if that matters to you? What about skin to skin? Like, are they going to let you do skin to skin right afterwards once the baby is born? And then also I'm not going to talk about it, but you can look more into it. Delayed cord blood clamping. And so that's when, like, are they going to take the baby out, clip the cord automatically? But they've seen research that shows that the umbilical cord will continue to pump nutrients into your baby's stem cells that are super important and super healthy for them. Like, will they let you do that until the blood stops pumping through and then cut the cord so that we finish the entire process? So it's questions like that that you can ask to know more things about whether or not this is an option for you, or if you need to find someone else that you feel more comfortable with as an OB. There's also a birthing center option. This is at Baby & Co. that's here in Nashville. So they call them birthing suites. So inside of there, you can see that there's a tub. There are like that ladder that's there that's sturdy so that you can hold onto it. You get to move around. Or having a midwife, like we have Vanderbilt midwives here. One of our favorite midwives is Lauren Dries at Haven Birth Center, and we love her. We have some amazing support around here in Nashville. But this is one where it's like almost like your home, but it's not your home, and you have the support of someone there that can help you. They have everything pain management wise. They have the ability to, if something goes wrong, send you right to Vanderbilt. So there's an amazing support staff and team that helps you postpartum, pre-conception, wellness checkups and all that for women so that you are supported during your entire process. But this is a more homey feel. So it's not like your body is like going in and kind of going into shock as it goes into a hospital. This is more of a natural vibe. Now, there's also the option of a home birth. Now, this is a very personal decision for mamas. And I like choosing a home birth significantly reduces your risk of intervention, even more than a birthing center. Like having a baby at home. Now, a midwife is usually there, a doula, a team of them. And there is some misconception around a home birth that it is very risky and that it is, there's a lot of fear wrapped around it of like the what if something happens. And I just want to bash that a little bit because it can be a very positive experience. Not saying that it doesn't happen and things don't happen, but it is a very safe, a very amazing experience for mom, baby, family, everyone that's involved. And many times home births will incorporate like a water birth, which I'll talk about next. But it can be very frightening to a lot of people. And I do advise you, because Lauren Dries, we have had conversations with her over and over and over again, and she's a midwife and she does home births. She's done a few of our patients' home births, and she sits down with you. And for some of you, it is not the right decision for you, but some of you, it's what you've been hoping for and dreaming for. And the experience can be so beautiful for you and your family, but it can also be beautiful in every other aspect that you choose. But make sure that you research this more and you look into it yourself. My best thought process behind this is to really talk to a mama that has had a home birth and their experience through it. If you need someone to talk to, April has had multiple home births. She's also been a doula, if you will. She's not a doula. She's not certified at all, but she was a assistant, if you will, also to a home birth to her best friend who had an amazing experience going through that. And so if you have any questions on that, make sure that you do your research, but you also ask mamas that have done it before. They'll tell you their story. We also have this book that I love too. It's called Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. And the first whole half of her book, it talks about how she has a birthing center, if you will, but it's like a home birth in Tennessee, not in Nashville. And she talks, the whole first half of the book is about testimonies to what a home birth is. So I really love that book as well, Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. So then let's talk about what water birth is. So water births are a lot of times part of a home birth. Birthing tubs are readily available now in most places, especially like even at Vanderbilt midwives and those areas like that, like they have a water birth. And so it's basically like you blow up a hot tub, like you get a special tub inside of your house. It's in there, like it's all put together. It's not just like just put together, like everything is there that you need to, that needs to be done. And what sometimes it's called is the midwife's epidural, because it does help significantly with natural birth pain relief. So it's shown to decrease pain, and it also helps relax the pelvic floor. It helps reduce blood pressure. It helps to reduce C-section rates. It also helps to reduce the need for drugs and interventions. It also might lead to a shorter labor, and it allows the mama to conserve energy as she's going through the birth process. It's hard to have these in the hospital. And also, like, you need another person there with you to kind of help, because if the midwife is there, it can't just be you and the midwife. Like, there needs to be another person there to help assist as you go through, whether that's husband, your partner, whatever it is, like somebody there to assist, to hold you, help keep you, not because you're going to drown, but just to support you as you're going through this. And I was doing research on this, and there is no, like, the babies have reflexes, so they're not going to drown. Like if the baby comes out of there, some mamas will just do this for pain management, then get out and then have the baby on land. Some mamas will have their baby in the water and go through that process as well. The last part of this, here we are. We're at the end. You had your baby, introducing your baby. It's an amazing time as you've gone through the birth. It's an exciting time. It's a new learning time. And the biggest thing that I want to discuss is not how to help your baby during this time, but how to help my mamas. I read this book called The Fourth Trimester. It's one of my favorite books. I read it beginning and end, and I couldn't stop talking about it. And I just love this book so much. And that book changed my whole perspective on how I take care of moms. And so those of you that are our moms on here that I have taken care of before, you know that I tell you that I will come to you for 4 weeks to take care of you because of this book. Because so often in our culture, this fourth trimester looks like this lady. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. What is happening? This world is overwhelming. Everybody's telling me to do this. Everybody's telling me to do that. Am I a good enough mom? Am I doing it right? Breastfeeding is hard. I can't figure it out, but I shouldn't be that hard. But the recovery process for you as mamas is absolutely crucial during this time. So I want to encourage you that the culture that America has created around the fourth trimester it has to be looked at. So and we can't compare during this time, like Instagram and all that stuff, like mamas that are back doing everything that they can. They just popped out a baby. Here they are. And here you are not figuring out your life. This is not a time to compare. It's a time to heal. Heal, heal, heal. Like other cultures in the world, they honor the time that follows birth. They honor it. Like they actually call it the sacred window. It's not like, let's see how fast we can get back to our body that was before pre-baby. Like how fast can we get back to doing all this thing? Like at fourth trimester, when the baby, either you bring the baby home or you're at home and you're bringing whatever it looks like this needs to be a time that is calm and a time that is peaceful. And if you have to create that and you have to advocate for that, like one of the cool things about doulas, like that can come and assist and help, like there's postpartum doulas that can help you during this time. And it might look different and you might be like, there's no possible way. I'm just going to encourage you to find like a way to make this a calm and a peaceful time in your life, because your hormones are recalibrating. Your organs are recalibrating. Your emotions are recalibrating during this time. And so we want to make sure that you are supported. So the first thing when it comes to fourth trimester, before I get into some more details, is I want you to think warming during this fourth trimester. So I mean, warming your body, keeping it warm. So that means like warm clothes, making sure that you're wearing socks, because that will help circulation and bring blood back to the areas where they need to have healing happening in your uterus, bringing contraction back, bringing it back to its normal size. It grows 5 times its size about during pregnancy. So it needs to come back. It needs nourishment from your blood, keeping your body covered, like getting in blankets, getting snuggly with your baby, keeping your house warm during this time, and really resting and taking that time to rest. And during this time is when you're going to start breastfeeding. And the benefits of breastfeeding to babies are bar none. It's the absolute nutrition that they need. But I want to talk about benefits to you as a mama. Like it burns calories when you're breastfeeding. It helps your uterus to contract and get back to its normal position. It may help prevent or reduce postpartum depression as well. Other benefits include reduced risk for, I already just said it, but postpartum depression. It reduces the risk of like hormones going all crazy by breastfeeding. So I want you to make sure like that it's not just about baby, but looking at the benefits of what it can also do for you as well. But some have concerns that their body is not producing enough milk. They're not latching. Like there's a problem with the breastfeeding process. We have an amazing friend of ours, April Graves. She's a lactation consultant. So know that we have resources for you. Know that it's okay for you to reach out if you need help during this time. Even if you look like it's the best option for babies, but some of mamas have struggles, especially with their supply. Here are some ideas, like getting an adjustment to help open everything up is a big deal. Drinking fenugreek tea, make sure that you're staying hydrated. Fennel, garlic, these are some natural remedies that will also help increase your breast milk. My favorite book when it comes to breastfeeding is Ina May's Guide to Breastfeeding. So you can continue to read. She goes through what it would look like if there's a latching, how to hold your breast. Like she goes through guidance on that milk supply, how that looks. She also talks even about like sleeping and co-sleeping and how that works with breastfeeding at nighttime. So I really love what she has to say about that. So then let's talk about, what do you do after you have a baby? When do you get to exercise? So I've seen, so you have a baby, you go back to the doctor, you get your checkup, and then I ask you, I'm like, okay, so what did they say about exercise? Or you might ask them, is it okay for me to exercise? And I usually get two responses. One, he or she didn't say anything about exercise. Like it's not a concern. Or if you asked, it sounded something like this. Wait a few days after you have the baby. It's different if you have a C-section, but like wait a few days. And if anything doesn't hurt or make you bleed heavily, then everything's okay. I'm not okay with those statements. It's very blanket, and everybody's body is a different. So I think there needs to be a little bit more guidance when it comes to exercise. And again, if you weren't on this, Exercise Through Pregnancy book is the best thing. Dr. James Clapp, he's an MD. But the only way that you're going to be able to rebuild your body during exercise postpartum is that you do have to take that time to rest at the very beginning. Like for the first 15 days, like 2 weeks, you really shouldn't be doing anything but resting and taking care of your baby. That is it. Like in the bed, on the bed, around the bed, there shouldn't be a whole lot of anything doing, nothing lifting heavier than the baby at all for the first 2 weeks so that your body can rebuild so that you can start to exercise. Also making sure that stillness is not just about, I know you want to get moving and anxious and like to get out, to get back to kind of doing some things, but that stillness also helps your organs stay where they need to be and preventing any type of a prolapse that can happen, which would mean your organs would come through your vaginal canal or out even your anus. Like it can come out of those areas if you are not rebuilding and resting during those times. So the biggest part when you're first starting is to start engaging your core back. And the best way that I know how to do that initially is by breathing. And that is like belly breathing, like your baby would breathe in through your belly, out through. That will help activate those muscles again, help activate your diaphragm. And then after you start to get some good breathing motion and movements in there, you can start to begin gentle movement back to where you were before. But I'm telling you, it is absolutely gentle. The best resource that I have for you is called Birth Fit. I went to a Birth Fit seminar. I am not certified in Birth Fit. I have to still fill out the application, but I went to it. And there's functional progressions that you can go through to begin to activate your core, help with any diastasis recti. So that's like the splitting open of your muscles, like they haven't connected back together in the center. So they have amazing resources for you to walk through. But you can begin a gradual return back to all of your exercise, like 4 to 12 weeks. And when it comes to this part, it's quality over quantity. So I'd much rather you do 10 amazing squats to start off with than 100 crappy squats that were nothing. So you can get your body back to where it belongs. And then maintaining chiropractic care through postpartum is essential. Sometimes life gets crazy. I understand that. That is why, as part of who we are, we offer to go to your house for 4 weeks afterwards to check not only you, but to check your baby. But here's where I would just want to educate you. Like your adjustments look completely different postpartum. Your body has changed. It's never going to be the same. You're always in 4th trimester. You're always postpartum. So getting back to your baby body, it's different. It went through some things. It changed. So your goals might change. But with chiropractic, we can help to maintain the health and the integrity of your pelvis, your nervous system, the health of your body as you go. So it's very gentle. Those of you that know, and I adjust you on the first week, I'm mainly just using the arthrosim and very gentle motion and movement as we go through. We also check your baby during that time, so you don't even have to worry about bringing your baby into the office. I will check your little babe right there to see how their spines are also doing. Nutrition for our mamas. So this part, I also want you to think of warming. So any warming foods, I'm going to give you some examples and I'm going to post it on the comments as we go through. But warming foods are going to build your blood and they're easily digestible. So you want those things to nourish your body. So this is what I'm talking about. So soups, stews. There's also, and some of you are going to be like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But it's called awful, but it means, and it's kind of funny because it's organ meats, but it's OFFAL, but any type of liver, heart, all that has so many nutrients inside of it that will help rebuild your blood and get the nutrients that you need afterwards, but also collagen. So having bone broth helps dramatically during this postpartum nutrition. Warm teas, warm spices like ginger and cinnamon and cayenne and garlic and turmeric and black pepper, cooked greens, beef, chicken, eggs, carrots, tons of healthy fats. So you want to make sure you have like coconut oil, butter, ghee, walnuts, beets, fish. The biggest thing I want you to think about during postpartum, especially those first 2 weeks, is avoiding cold foods. So ice cream, ice water, raw food, even like salads, sometimes smoothies. And the reason is because when you have something cold, like you think about everything just like freezes up. We want everything to like relax and like get to where it needs to be, like circulation wise. And so having that warmness, like every culture, like they have a grandma or a mama that can do that. Postpartum doulas. That's why I love meal trains. They can all support you during this postpartum time for nutrition. The biggest thing with postpartum nutrition has to also come from here. So if your goal is to, like, you're thinking about how can I lose all this baby weight as fast as I possibly can, I want you to, at least for the first 4 weeks, that fourth trimester beginning there, that you would think warming foods, nourishing your body. It is okay. Do not compare, and to nourish your body, especially if you're breastfeeding and going through all of that. This isn't a time to like, let's lose as much weight as possible as well. So I just want to encourage you on that. Now, what kind of vitamins? So my thing I'm taking right now are the daily packs, kind of like I talked about with prenatal vitamins. So these are the vitamins that I take currently right now, the Daily Essentials Women's Vitamins. So inside of it, there is 2 multivitamins for women, vitamin D, a vitamin B complex, optimal omega. There's magnesium inside of here. So it's everything that you need to support. You can also still take prenatal vitamins. So there's no problem with that. You can take those. They're healthy and they're safe for you to take while you're lactating and while you're breastfeeding and doing all of that. But you can also take your daily essentials. But I would highly encourage to make sure that you're continuing to do those as well, especially if you're breastfeeding, but it'll help nourish your body. So it's not coming from the stores that are down under and you have all the things that your body needs in order for it to work properly. And I just realized I haven't been putting comments and things in there, so you can get these, but you can text April. These are 15% off. Everything else is 10% off. So know that you can get supplements as well during this time. The other thing I would add to this is collagen. So if you wanted to take a collagen, have a collagen powder, that would also be a really good idea to do postpartum for our mamas. I am at the end of this going to post everything. You're going to just have to go back and do it. I thought I could do multiple things, but I just couldn't. And so now let's get into like, as babies grow and develop, I want to encourage you during this time for my mamas is it's also critically important for you to take care of yourself. That's the one thing that I got from reading that book and taking care of my mamas is I wanted everything in my power that I could do to take care of you as mamas, to make sure that you know that you're taken care of, because it feels like, and I've heard this from our moms, is like that you're taking care of everybody else and there's no one there to care for you. And so that's why I want to encourage you to have a community around you as they grow, to get a part of a connect group or your church, and stay involved in places and talk to mamas, and to know that you're not alone in all of this, that there are people here that are ready and willing to support you through this whole process. So know that we are part of your team. And so you can reach out to us, especially as your kids grow, like they get adjusted. They are part of our family, seeing our little ones grow up. And we've been open for almost 6 years, and seeing like them go from being born till 5 years old. Like there's nothing like it as a community to be a part of this process. But I want to encourage you to make sure that you take care of yourself as they grow. So those of you that are on the line are watching that have never been checked before, the very first step is to allow us to check your pelvis, to check your lower lumbar spine, to check to make sure that everything is in balance. That is the first step to make sure that everything is functioning in your body, because everything runs from above down. It comes from your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves. And we want to make sure that everything is in the correct position for you and your baby as you go along in your journey. I'm gonna put a link on here that you can click to, and it'll say to get checked. You can click on that. How much and what do we do? So the very first thing we do is a consultation. We sit down, we talk about what's happening and what's going on in your life. If you're pregnant, how far along are you? And I'm going to encourage you, because we've had mamas, they come to us and they're 7 months pregnant. It's not too late, but I would have much rather adjusted them right when they knew, instead of wait until they get low back pain, but to really see what's happening, because that's why they came in. They couldn't even handle it anymore. But to start and to do more prevention instead of waiting until it happens. And then after that, we're going to do an evaluation. So we're going to do a posture check to see, like, is your pelvis going this direction? Are your hips going this direction? What does that look like? We're also going to do range of motion, making sure that you can move up and down. You have the flexibility in your spine to be able to do that, and your pelvis. And then we'll do bilateral weight scales. We'll have you stand on these scales from side to side, see if you're carrying weight on one side more than the other, which will give us a lot of information about what's happening in your pelvis. And then from there, we will not take any x-rays, but normally the cost of that evaluation is anywhere from $80 to $100. But because you're listening, and if you're referred into our office as a pregnant mama, it is only $20 to get your evaluation, your exam. We will most likely adjust you that day. We'll walk you through what it looks like to get adjusted with what's called the Webster technique. Through every part of that process, it's a gentle technique to bring your pelvis and your body back into alignment. We'll go through the cost of that on your visit when you get there. There's nothing that we will do without you knowing. But the first thing is we need to evaluate you. So you'll click that link once we're done here. I'll post them all, and you can go back and see that. The next step for everyone else and beyond is I'm going to put a link on here that's called the Prenatal Health Perspective. And it goes through chiropractic, it goes through nutrition, it goes through everything that I talked about, like in a condensed version. And it helps as a checklist. It's like, where do you need to improve in your 5 essential journey through this part of your pregnancy or pre-pregnancy or postpartum? Where are you kind of falling off? I'm going to give that to you for free. And also it goes through different supplements as well. And the last couple things are what's coming up. Whole30 next Tuesday. I'm doing a Whole30 webinar. Dr. Michael and I have really struggled doing Whole30. Like, it is no joke whatsoever. If you are pregnant, you can do a version of Whole30. Like, we'll talk about that. But you Tuesday at 5:30 right here, same place, just a half hour early on a Tuesday, and we're going to talk through the ins and outs of it, the pros and cons, what we have struggled with, because we have struggled tremendously with this one. It's the first time we've ever done it, but we're going to I'll walk you through that process. And you can also connect with us on Instagram and our podcast. We just recorded one yesterday, a new one. We've had it for a while, but the last one that came out was June 2019. So we are ready and back, going to start hopefully getting it out on this Saturday or next Saturday. And Instagram is where we post all of our upcoming events, all the information, recipes. We do a lot of great things on our story as well to help keep you updated on health when it comes to that. That is it. If you have any questions, please reach out. I will post all the links on there. Know that you can text April for not only the prenatal or the daily vitamins, but you can also get any supplements as well for watching this webinar. And know that we love you. We're behind you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll see some of you in the office here tomorrow or next week at your appointments. And those of you that are wanting to come in to get checked, I will see you then. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.